Hello everyone and welcome to this channel. What I'm trying to prepare, it is basically a platform so that I stay connected with the students. Considering the time that we are going through right now, I know it is very difficult for us to meet face to face, but nonetheless time is very important for us, and you have a very limited time because you people are going to take your board examinations, and it is very imperative for us to use this time judiciously. And that is why the reason I thought, let me try and experiment on how I can connect with you. Now before I begin, I just want to give you a brief. What you had learned in business studies in 11th standard was about what commerce and trade is actually about. You would have probably learned about what is commerce, what is trade, what is a company, how do you set up a company. So basically the external aspects of how you can form an organization. This year, the entire 12th standard, we are going to understand the three main aspects of any organization. That is the administration, you have the finances, and of course the marketing. So these three are the basic departments that each and every organization has to have. Administration deals with what happens within the organization. Now what happens within the organization at various levels, be it the top level management or the middle level managers whom you know as, or the people who are supervisors, we are going to go through that. And also administration takes care of 5 basic functions, that is planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling. That is what the entire concept of HR management, what we know as, what we call as, that is what it is if you see broadly. Then you have of course marketing. Once your product is prepared, unless and until the consumer will purchase the product, there is absolutely there is no profit that you can show. At the same time, how do you manage all these resources? Resources be in terms of people, be it in terms of all the raw materials which you use. The resources are very important again for the organization, and how do we get them? That is through finances. So if you see the entire 12th standard business studies, it basically is about these three portions what we are going to learn through. But before we begin, we need to understand the first and foremost, what is management, what is the nature and significance of management. Now when we talk about management, we always talk about few things, and this is something which you're going to read, or which is something which you're going to come across throughout your entire management understanding. One is the fact that it's a process, that means it is never ending. The second thing is optimum utilization of resources, that we keep on telling. So whatever resources I just discussed, like raw materials or finances or everything is resource for the organization. So how you're able to manage that is again important, and optimally use it so that you have, what is optimum? Optimum means you have to have minimum cost, minimum time and maximum output. If you see the entire process, of course you would have learned that there's an input and then it goes through a process and then there is an output. So input with whatever minimum you have, how you're able to maximize the output is what we call as optimum utilization of resources. And then we say something like, what is management? Management is to do your work efficiently and effectively. Now, before we understand, you need to understand what is efficiency and what is effectiveness in managerial terms. Okay, we will go through this picture that I have made for your better understanding. Again, let me tell you that whatever these pictures that I am making, please make sure that you keep a tab of all these things, because this is how your presentation needs to be during your board examinations. Now if you see, there are two words that are written, effectiveness and efficiency. So how do you differentiate, or how do you understand what is effectiveness and what is efficiency? Effectiveness always has a time factor. That means when you're able to finish your work within the stipulated period of time. Now the same thing, whenever if I had to give you an example, if you're going through your assessment, now how do you score, how do you rate yourself as a student? It is because in that 3 hours of time, how you're able to perform. That is why the time factor is very important as far as management is also concerned. So the specified time, so that is how it is, effectiveness is defined. And then you have efficiency. What is efficiency? With minimum cost. Like I said, whenever you are using your resources, whatever minimum input you're putting within the time frame, and you have to maximize the output. So with minimum cost, whatever you are able to do and maximize your output is known as efficiency. and within a specified period of time, if you are able to complete your task, it means that you are effective in nature. Now just quickly, if you just go through this, now this is where management wants to be, both where overlapping efficiency and effectiveness. Effectiveness, how will you calculate that? It is with respect to your external environment. That means in the specified period of time, whether your customer satisfaction is achieved, your product and services are given on time, and satisfaction of the key partners, of course, because management is not one man system. It has a lot of other stakeholders. So if you are able to achieve all these things, means you are effective in nature. And how do you define yourself as being efficient? If your internal environment, you are keeping it under your control. That is, your costs are under control. You eliminate any kind of waste that is there and using your assets to the maximum benefit that you have. So again, coming back, this is how we define effectiveness and efficiency. Now, the next thing we are going to talk about is the characteristics of management. Before we understand, and even from your academic viewpoint, you need to understand that how the questions are going to be framed. First and foremost, for each and every chapter, you are going to understand the concept. The concept basically means your features and the definition. And then you have the features are your characteristics, then the importance, then the limitations and the process. So this is what we are going to learn for all the chapters, and that is what you have to understand also, that even for management, and I am talking with respect to your board examination, when any question comes that what is the concept of management, then you are supposed to define management, and the next thing is you have to talk about the characteristics or the features of management. Again, quickly coming back to this mind map, like I said, I expect you to make this mind map. Of course, once we have an opportunity to meet face to face, we will be putting more light onto this. But quickly, if I have to define the characteristics of management, these are the 7 main characteristics. First and foremost, management is a goal-oriented process. That means, what it basically means is that management has to be, with respect to one particular goal. Unless and until you define what the end place is where you want to reach, you cannot understand management as such. Now, I'll give you a very good example. When you are going, when you get up early in the morning, then always, if you want to go somewhere, then you have a definite end point where you want to go. And subsequently, you choose the best route, you choose the best time, you choose all other factors, keeping that end point in your mind. And that is what management is all about. It is a goal-oriented process. Unless and until you define your goals, where you want to be at the end of it, there is no point in trying to understand management. The next thing is management is all pervasive. Now, coming to management is all pervasive, it basically means that management is everywhere. Now, the meaning of pervasive means it is everywhere. When I say everywhere, it is there in any kind of organizations, any kind of, be it social organization, political, or any organization, you talk about, management is a very important aspect of it. You cannot say that, okay, fine, I am not, I'm not a commerce person, or I'm related to, my organization is related to science. So management, I don't have to, have management in that is absolutely wrong. Nowadays, management is a very important part, and I think you would have even, you talk about hotel management, you talk about hospitality management, you talk about, even your medical management, even that hospital management is what we call. All these things define the fact that it is all pervasive. Management is something which is everywhere. The third characteristics of management is that it is multidimensional. Now, management is multidimensional means that it is important for you to achieve or for you to have management. It is important that you should have management of 3 aspects, and these 3 aspects being management of work, management of people, and management of operations. That means, like I said, what is management? Again, effectiveness and efficiency. Coming back to that, you should have effectiveness and efficiency showing in work with respect to whatever the work that has to be done, or the optimum job that has to be done with minimum wastage. The people, so that there is no absenteeism and all those things. You're able to manage your people, and of course the operations, the smooth functioning of the operation. So that is what management is. It's multidimensional in nature, and it takes care about work, people, and operations. The next point is management is a continuous process. It means that even though, now always the best example that I give is the human body. If you want to understand management, you need to understand human body. you can understand that the best way to understand management is when you look at the human body. If you see, human body has got different organs and each organ has got a very specific function, and that is what an organization is also all about. Each organization has got a separate organ or a separate area of function that it has to perform, and they specialize in their own way. But unless and until each of them are able to do their work together and continuously, management cannot exist. So that is what management means. It is a continuous process. That is what another characteristic is. It is not that you cannot say that, okay, fine, for in the morning the heart has to work and the night the brain has to work. It is not like that. In order for the human body to function, every day all the systems, all the organs have to work in tandem so that the organ can be classified as healthy. Similarly, even for an organization, management has to continue in all aspects and in a continuous form. Okay, so apart from the fact that it has to coordinate, that we are going to discuss later, but nonetheless it has to be continuous. That is, from the morning till the night, 24/7, 365 days, management as a function has to continue in an organization so that the organization can be healthy. Now, the next characteristic of management is it's a group activity. Again, going back to the example that I have given, just like I said, it is not a one-man person. You cannot say, even an entrepreneur who would have started his organization, he cannot say that I'm the only person who is responsible for the organization. Nothing in this world can exist on a one-man show. Every person, even when you call any organization or any company as a separate legal entity, even then you know that it is not one person who can manage the whole show. It has to be a group of people. Now, if a group of people are responsible for the outcome or the success or the profitability of an organization, then how can we say that management will be responsibility of only a certain level of managers? No, management has to be taken care by everybody and in a group as a team. That is where you say that management exists. Okay, that is why we say one of the characteristics is that management is a group activity. The next thing is it is a dynamic function. Now, what is dynamic? When you have to define, what is being dynamic means that with the changes that are happening or occurring in the external environment, management also has to keep on changing. I think the best example you can see is probably in your own houses. The way you people think is not necessarily the way your parents think and not necessarily the way your grandparents think. Things have changed over a period of time. I don't really think that lockdown that we are going through right now was something that could have even been fathomed by your grandparents, or how their lifestyle would have been affected and how ours is being affected right now. I think it's something you can understand. Things have to change, and how you are able to accommodate and adjust to this system is what management is all about. It is dynamic, means when your external environment is changing, then management also has to change, keeping in mind certain basic principles. Now, those principles will always facilitate management, but nonetheless, the perception or how you're going to perceive each and every principle or how the roles have to be changed. Now, for example, again, if I have to make it a little easier, there will be a finance manager. Maybe 50 years back also there was a finance manager. Even now there is a finance manager, but the roles have changed. That is what we say that dynamic is. It is not that suddenly management is dynamic, means with the environment everything is changing and organizations and the laws and rules and regulations. No, they are not changing. But how we are accommodating and adjusting, adapting and adopting to those situations is what change is all about as far as management is concerned. The last characteristic, what we call, is intangible force. We talked about so many things, so many characteristics of management. We said that it is very important, it is continuous, it has to be with respect to people, it has to be with respect to all the aspects of life. Then, how do we define whether we have achieved management or not? We can define management has been achieved by not is only with respect to the outcome. That is why we say it is intangible in nature. Intangible means you can feel it, but you cannot actually, you cannot see it. You cannot, in the sense, you cannot touch it. So intangible in the sense, somewhere management has occurred will come with the fact that you can, with the operations going on smoothly, when your customers are satisfied, when people who are working for you are happy or your stakeholders are happy, that management has occurred and management has been successful, and that is how you define. You cannot touch You cannot touch management. You cannot say that okay fine, management is restricted to this area. It is not something which can be touched, but nonetheless it can be felt, and that is why we call it an intangible force. Now with this I think I have tried to make you understand the concept of management and what management is all about. We will talk about with respect to the academic portion of it sooner, but nonetheless it is very important for you to study. And also at this point I request all of you to please open the CBSE website and you can download the e-book for business studies. And like I said, time is very crucial for us, and it is very important that all of us try to make the best use out of it. Unfortunately I'm not able to connect with you, but with whatever lessons we have learned today, if you have any queries, please feel free to ask me. If you can just type your questions, and if you have not understood a portion, probably in the next video I will try to clarify those portions. All the best and take care.